Thank you all for being with me.
Yeah.
For those of you who I haven't worked with, I would now consider myself to be in semi-retirement. I kind of do programs when I'm feeling the urge to do programs, and mostly we're doing private companies now once or twice a month. But I have made a commitment to do these little chalk talk meetings, probably once a month or every other month. But it's certainly a lot less work than what we're accustomed to, and I'm kind of really enjoying that. Um, Between 87, which some of you guys weren't born then, but between 87 and 97, I traveled all over the country teaching. Um, in 97, I became a single dad with two boys. They were 2 and 4 years old, and I couldn't travel anymore. And so we built some log cabins on our ranch and kind of held up a sign and said, if you want training, you need to come to my house. And people did. And we were really blessed. For the last 22 years, we've had 14,000 recruiters come to the ranch and spend 3 days with us. And we lock them up in a log cabin with me and beat their butts to death for about 10 hours. And then at night, we'd force them to drink some tequila and ride mules in the hills. And we had a really, really good time. Um, Today, guys, we're going to talk about a concept that has been a market phenomenon that has blown its head out of proportion. Obviously, ghosting. Most of this has come out of the excess use of InMails that we all use. InMails had their highest peak between October 22 and December of 24. It has led to a message fatigue of 7% returns on our InMails. And some of you guys, I assume, are going to have much better responses than that. But on a national basis, within the recruiting industry, we will get 7 responses that come back after first output or outreach of that InMail out of every 100 that we send out. That does a lot to influence people's self-esteem in our business. And it's also caused an awful lot of new people in our business to go, is this the way it's always going to be? Because if it is, I have to become an email or InMail machine working at amounts of volumes that produce enough response that I can make a living. How many people agree with that? Okay. We can't stop ghosting 100%, but we now have proven that we can reduce it by almost 70%, guys. And those results were re-emphasized by the last group of students that were in this program. So I'm going to explain how we do that, what the causes of it are. There are 3 philosophical changes that have to be made in our own heads in order to make that reduction happen. And the first and the hardest thing to accept is to realize that it comes from the realization that when you pitch somebody a job assumptively before finding out where they stand professionally, meaning, do they have pain points? Do they have what we at Morgan call a career wound? If you do that without finding that information out first, it can result in huge misses. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. It's like me walking up to you on the street and going, Heather, you want to buy a watch? Check it out. I got 10 watches right here. You want to buy a watch? I haven't asked anybody, are you looking for a watch? And I'm not even showing you 10. I'm showing you one. So we're making an assumption that if somebody is looking to make a change, out of all the possible jobs that they could have put in front of them, here's the one that we want them to pass judgment on. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. That's the biggest and the hardest philosophical change that we have to make in our minds, that pitching first before finding out where somebody stands is not the wisest, healthiest, or smartest relationship building process. It has a tendency to attract desperados that don't need what we call business foreplay. They just want to know what you got. So that's the first thing that kind of needs to be reworked in our brains. The second philosophical shift comes in creating an alternative and contrarian communication channel that prevents us from getting suckered. So anybody know what I mean by that? What communication channel do we use that allows us to get suckered by people?
InMails and LinkedIn Recruiter.
It's by simply typing, right? So there are so many things that we can't understand about people when the only form of communication that we're using is our fingertips. Okay. We can't differentiate what their real needs are. We don't know what their intent is. We don't know whether or not they're being sincere to us, what their truth levels are in the way that they respond. We have no idea about their degree of career discontent. Am I right? We certainly don't know if they're BSers or not. Um,
So
it's
essentially
just,
a used car salesman, right?
well, we are, if somebody walks on the lot and we say to them, well, we don't say to them, are you looking for a car? We make the assumption that they are, right? And then we say, look, before you say anything to us, let me just show you the car that we have on special right now. And we walk them over to that car and we show them the car and we put on a great presentation. And then all of a sudden we find out they have two sets of twins and they can't use a two-seater sports car. Okay. It's about gaining information before. And the third thing that's got to change is that you've got to believe that going slower and deeper with each candidate is going to bring in fewer candidates, but ultimately it makes for more and faster placements. I hope you guys understand that. Taking your time and going deeper with each candidate is going to allow you to get rid of all the surprises. And the biggest surprise that we get is getting ghosted. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.